What's up, short attention span history nerds? Have you ever heard somebody use an idiom and wonder, why do we describe a situation like that? Something like, wow, it's really raining cats and dogs out there, or Lord willing and the creek don't rise, whatever that means. We use these sayings every day whether we realize it or not, but where do they come from? Most of us use idioms every day. And yet, many of us don't know how these phrases originated, and it's very interesting to learn the origin behind the phrases and how they came into existence. As you learn about idioms, you also learn about history, geography, and culture. Idioms are usually derived from local cultures and customs in each individual language. So let's explore some common idioms and phrases and take a look at the meaning and origins behind them. Loophole. As an idiom, a loophole is defined as a way of getting out of something or escaping a difficulty, especially finding a legal technicality that allows someone to evade compliance. But where did this originate from? Okay, now a loophole in the Middle Ages was a small slit in an opening of a castle wall that men would fire their bows or musketeers through. The only opening in a seemingly impenetrable wall were the slits that only a child or a small adult could squeeze through. Thus, a loophole is a small opening or out in a seemingly airtight law. Red tape. This is a common idiom. We use the term red tape to denote anything that may delay or hold us up, whatever the process may be. It also refers to a lot of unnecessary bureaucracy or paperwork. This term originated from the fact that official documents were tied up or bound together with red tape in the 16th century. By doing so, it was often difficult to access them, hence the term red tape. Break a leg. Okay, how many times have we heard somebody shout, break a leg, to someone going out on stage? This is a phrase that seems to be counterintuitive. Certainly, you don't want somebody to actually break their leg on stage, or if you're an understudy, you just might actually wish that somebody breaks their leg on stage. But anyways, why did such a saying come into existence? The phrase was first recorded in print in the early 1900s. Eric Partridge, in his Dictionary of Catchphrases, suggests that this term originated as a translation of a similar expression used by German actors. And what they were saying was, it's a broken neck or a broken leg. The German phrase traces back to early aviators, possibly during World War I, spreading gradually to the German stage and then to British and American theaters. But why would people twist a wish for dreadful injury into one for good luck? And it suggested that it's a reverse psychology of sorts. Popular folklore down through the ages have been full of warnings against wishing people good luck. To do so was thought to be superstitious and to be tempting evil spirits or demons that would do their friends harm. Instead, they would wish their harm on their friends, in turn receiving bad luck. There's also evidence that some have pointed to the stage directions for the opening night of the reconstructed Globe Theatre in London, which supposedly for two actors to swing dramatically from a balcony down to the stage on ropes. One of the actors slipped and, you guess it, broke his leg. There's also evidence, and this is very odd, but there's also evidence that leads back to that fateful day that John Wilkes Booth fatally shot President Lincoln, then jumped from the box to the stage, breaking his leg. Apparently, Booth was making his way to a male actor on stage with a dagger, but the pain from the break prevented him from advancing quickly on him. However, this is unsubstantiated. In either case, it has become a common and accepted expression of good luck. It's raining cats and dogs. Now this one's very weird. This might sound like a very odd expression to someone just hearing it for the first time. There's a lot of things we've seen falling from the sky, but cats and dogs aren't one of them. One has to wonder, how did this expression come about? It's quite simple, really. It originated in England in the 1500s when houses had thatched roofs. A thatched roof consisted of straw piled high with no wood underneath. Cats and other small animals and the occasional dog would wind up on these roofs. When it rained really hard, some of the animals would slip through the roofs and wash up in the gutters on the street. Hence the saying, it's raining cats and dogs. Ended up referring to a particular heavy rain. Kind of gruesome, isn't it? An arm and a leg. That's going to cost you an arm and a leg. This is a common phrase that means simply it's going to cost you to the point of sacrifice. It's going to hurt. The price is going to be high. Why did such a phrase come into existence? Okay, now, if we step back into the time of George Washington's day, we would not see any cameras. For a portrait, someone had to either be painted or sculpted. If you notice old pictures, you'll notice something interesting. The paintings may consist of just a person's face. At other times, a person's portrait with one arm behind their back, or both arms may be visible, or both arms may be behind their back. Interestingly enough, portraits were not charged by the number of people who appeared in the picture, but rather by the number of limbs that were painted. If they wanted a cheaper painting, then it would cost them an arm and a leg. Artists knew it took more time and effort to draw arms, hands, and legs, and it was much more difficult, so it cost much more to paint that. Flying off the handle. It means to get really upset quickly. I guess the origin makes sense because I've had this happen to me before when I've gotten mad. Tools haven't always been made of high quality material by skilled laborers, in particular axes. A well-made solid axe will last a lifetime, but a poorly made axe in the 1800s may and often did break at the blade, causing the axe blade to go flying in any direction, causing a very dangerous situation. To give the cold shoulder. It didn't start off meaning to ignore someone or turning your back on someone. This idiom was actually a common event in the 18th century regarding lavish British meals. It originated in England in the 1700s when the host of a dinner party wanted the guests to leave. They would signal the servants to bring cold slices of pork, beef, mutton, shoulder to be served. This would cue the guests that the party was over. They didn't have to go home, but they weren't going to stay either. This is my favorite. Hit the fan. This is a common phrase that means something bad is about to happen to someone or a group of people due to a bad event. But why would anyone ever come up with a saying like this? Okay, through my research, this idiom, I found several different accounts claiming to be the etymology or the origin of the saying. While some of the stories vary in years and location, the main story remains the true, and it goes something like this. Sometime in the 1890s, on a hot summer day, a saloon owner had installed electricity throughout his establishment. Aside from the electrical lighting, he installed an electric ceiling fan in order to cool his patrons in the heat of the summer. One day, a stranger comes to town and wanders into the saloon. He goes to the bar and orders a bowl of beans or chili, depending on the story you hear. He eats the food and drinks whiskey. Now full and tired, he asks the bartender for a room for the night. The stranger's given a room and he settles in. Before lying down, he decides to clear his bowels. At this time in history, indoor plumbing was becoming prevalent in hotels and businesses. So the stranger wonders if the saloon has one. He sees a hole in the floor surrounded by a large ring, squats over it and relieves himself. Quickly, he hears screaming, yelling, and cursing coming from downstairs. He runs downstairs and finds the bartender cowering behind the bar and asks what's going on. The bartender points to the hole in the ceiling just above the fan blades and says, "Stranger, where were you when shit hit the fan?" Now, whether this is a true story or just an old joke, I don't know. Could have been distorted over time, but it's a hilarious idiom. So guys, next time it's raining cats and dogs, don't spin an arm and a leg on a cheap umbrella. It just might break, causing you to fly off at the handle, trip and break a leg. It will hit the fan once you see all the red tape and lack loopholes on your insurance form, and you know you're going to get the cold shoulder from your wife when she finds out you bought a cheap umbrella. Okay, well that's it. These are some of the strangest and most funniest idioms that I can think of. There's thousands of idioms out there. If I've missed one that you're wondering about its origin, please leave it in the comment section below. If I like it, I'll pin it at the top and research the origin of it and get back with you. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. Until next time.